Okay, so we are basically going to learn about finding the zeros. All right, this is a new terminology, and it's a terminology that you actually it means something that you already know. Okay, finding the zeros, which really means finding the x-intercepts. Okay, and using factoring.
It's a long title.
Yes, it is a long title because I want it to be clear. So, okay, so so finding the zeros, it's the same thing as finding the x-intercepts. It's weird. I don't know why they do this, but there's actually several ways to say find the x-intercepts. Okay? There are three. So I'm going to write them all. So one is find the x-intercepts. Find x-intercepts. Sometimes you'll see it like this. Find the zeros. Sometimes you'll see it like this. Find the roots. Kind of weird. Like, I'm not sure where they get this stuff, but I mean, I can guess what they meant by that. But anyways, and this is the last one. They might say solve for x, or they might just say solve the equation, right?
I've been doing this a long time.
Or solve the equation, right? And each time, remember, we're talking about a quadratic formula. All of these are quadratics, right? Quadratics. So it's going to have something like, y is equal to x squared plus 2x plus 1, or something like that, right? It's going to be a quadratic. It's going to have an x squared for all of these for us to find, to answer these questions. That's what we're talking about. All right? Now, you already know this. I mean, basically, it's really easy. So, like, let's say I took this example right here. Y is equal to x squared plus 2x plus 1. In order to find the x-intercepts, what would they have to be? What would y have to be in order to find the x-intercepts? Y would have to be 0, right? So I'm going to make y 0. So I'm going to say 0 is equal to x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now sometimes it's already set up with 0. You don't have a y, they just have it's equal 0. And that's fine.
Is it solve Fox X?
Solve, thank you. For x. Sorry about that. Solve for x.
Solve Fox X.
So again, to find this, to find the zeros, you're actually being asked to find the x's when y is 0, right? That's what and that would give you the x-intercepts. That's when y is 0. That's the only possible place. Let's see, where was I doing? When y is yeah. So if this is when y is 0, I'm on my x-axis. So that is my x-intercept.
Yeah. So
now this is different from what we've been doing. We've been just doing this. Serena, please stop. Actually, can you move over here, please? So this is different. What we've been doing so far is actually just factoring, right? Now I'm adding the equal sign and I'm adding a 0. You see the difference? All right, so I'm going to move it over here. And I'm going to it doesn't really matter. I'll just keep the 0 on that side. X squared plus 2x plus 1. So let's factor this. Let's say 0 equals, and then I'm going to put my factor marks. And what would I get? Gabe, what would I get?
Plus 1 and plus 1.
Yeah, right. The factors of 1, not too many options, right? Right? Just 1 and 1, and x plus 1. So I'm going to do my finger test, right? Outside it's 1x plus inside 1x. 1x plus 1x equals 2x. That's it. Now,
Oh, so smart.
yeah, so
So
now,
intelligent.
now we have to figure out what are the zeros. What is the x-intercept? If you used the quadratic formula, you would have gotten x equals negative 1. Not equals x equals plus 1. You would have gotten x equals negative 1. So this is what you do. You follow this rule. There is a rule in algebra that says if, this is a very important rule, okay? It says if A times B equals 0, then either A equals 0 or B equals 0. Think about it. If the first, if you got two numbers, you're multiplying together, the first number is 3. 3 times what would equal 0?
3 times 0.
3 times 0. There's nothing else that'll make it equal to 0. 3 times 0, right? You see what I'm saying? You could do 3 times 0.000001, it'll be almost 0, but it's not going to be exactly 0. The only way to get it exactly 0 is to multiply times 0. So it could be that they're both 0. A and B could both be 0, because that would still give me 0. Or one of them, A could be 0, or B could be 0. If one of them is 0, do you all get that? Does that make sense to you? Fist of 5. I just want to be sure, because if you don't understand that, you won't understand the rest of the lecture. Okay.
Just if A times B equals 0, then either A
One of them has to be 0.
Oh yeah, of course.
Or maybe both of them, right? They could both be, but one of them has to be. That's the only way you can get 0. It's impossible otherwise. So, now we have these two things. We could actually create, this is my A, and this is my B, right? So this is sort of like my A, and this is sort of like my B. Now, in this case, my A and my B are exactly the same thing, right? But let's pretend they weren't. I could say either this equals 0, so I could write that. X plus 1 equals 0. Or this, B equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0. Okay? Now let's solve for x. Adam, help me solve for x.
So,
I want to say x equals. I want x all by itself. Right? Just
so
back to the first week of Algebra 1. Right?
subtract the 1. on
Subtract
this
1, subtract 1. So I have x is equal to,
Negative.
and that's what you would have gotten with the quadratic formula.
You don't really need to do the negative 1 under those. I mean,
Well,
that's
I
pretty easy. I mean, x plus 1 equals 0. You know that x is going to be negative 1 because there's nothing else.
right. That's another way to do it, is to actually say, well, what would x have to be for it to be 0 there, right? And x would have to be negative 1, right? So yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. This is just how to do it algebraically. That would be just sort of mentally, right? Sometimes it gets more complicated, like if it's 2x plus 3 or something. Then suddenly you've got to, well, let's see, what is that? Then using this method is a little easier. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's try one. Can I erase this? Let's try one that has two different answers.
Oh, what is that?
Okay? So let's try this one. Let's say x squared plus 8x plus 15 equals 0. Okay, you with me? All right, so Wyatt, how would I factor this? So I'm writing this, but I'm putting the equals 0. That's really important. What would it be?
So x plus. X plus 5.
All right, let's try it. Sometimes you don't know until you just okay. 3 times 5 is 15. 5x plus 3x is 8x. That's right. You did it. So I know that either x plus 3 or x plus 5 must equal 0, right? What would x, well, I'm going to do it like this. X plus 3 equals 0 or x plus 5 equals 0. So, what would I do, Liam?
Negative 3.
Okay, so I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. X is equal to negative 3. Or, keep going.
Negative 5.
Yeah, subtract 5 from both sides, right? X is equal to negative 5. And that's my answer. So I know immediately this. I know that if I were going to graph this, I know at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's negative 5, boom, and negative 3, 1, 2, 3, boom. I know it's going to, that's where it's crossing the x-intercept,
Oh,
the x-axis. See what I mean? That's what I solved. That's what Liam solved for. Does that make sense?
That's a smart and it's not
So I gave you this. You could have used x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, right? You could have used the quadratic formula. But this is so much faster, right? Because, why? Because you could factor it.
Gary, watch out, it's 9/11.
You're right. But you were able to factor it, right? Now, if you can't factor it, you have to go back to the quadratic equation, right? The quadratic formula. Do you know what I'm talking about? But if you can factor it, it's so much quicker. So the ones I'm giving you tonight, I think you can all factor. So that's going to be, oh shoot. And I'm going to have to give it to you later because I left it in the printer. Printer hadn't been done, was not done printing, and it's in my building. So I'll give it to you at the end of next period or something, okay?
You know what's so nice?
No homework over spring break.